am going to share with you everything that you could possibly need to know about scribing and perfectly fitting baseboards to an uneven floor. This is something I wish I knew when I first started off with baseboards, and that is when it comes to scribing, if you have an opportunity to not scribe the end of a baseboard that connects to other baseboards, take it every single time. In this scenario here, we can just tip this piece, scribe down this one side, closing up the gap. By the time we start connecting into other pieces, we're going to be left with a full piece and we don't have to worry about it. There's no need to turn a little 3-hour baseboard job into an all-day extravaganza. Now, this is the most important step in the whole process of getting the perfect fit, and that is getting an accurate scribe line. It's really a lost art form. I've spent years and years and years perfecting it. Let me show you how I do it. We will go over the hump and the dip. Now, there's all kinds of different tools out on the market. The AccuScribe and the Easy Scribe are the two most popular. I've used these for years and they're good tools in their own right, but there's a better way to do this. And all it is cut some flat shims and a pencil. You've got your saw out, you're cutting baseboards, chop up some shims, set yourself a little stop block. I like to cut some 32nd, 16th, 1/8, and 3/16 shims. The combination of those shims is going to allow you to tackle any gap, any dip, any hump. So let me show you how to mark out this classic dip scenario. We're between two termination points, so we don't have to worry about cheating it like we did in the other example. So take your shims, find the biggest dip spot, the biggest gap, and then try to find the right shim that is just going to slide under. If you have a little bit of space, try and slide a 32nd under there on top of the existing shim. You want that to just be barely rubbing on the baseboard, and then take that perfect fitting combination of shims, take it along the baseboard, slide it along, get a nice trace line on there, and then as you're coming towards the dip and you're running out of real estate, rather than getting your shim jammed underneath and your pencil slipping off, just take the whole works, come to the other high side, and then work your way back towards the dip. It's going to be much easier to get the perfect line that way. Now let's have a quick look at the classic hump scenario. What you want to do with all this hump is even this baseboard out. That's going to allow you to do the least amount of scribing and still have full width pieces on each end of the baseboard. So if any other pieces of baseboard tie in, you're not going to have to continue the scribe. And the best way to do this is with the shims. The shims really shine here. Take even numbers of shims and then just shim this up so that it's nice and even across. If it's still wiggling, add to the shims. And yeah, now you can see this is not wiggling, it's hitting on the hump. And then take that same combination of shim, it worked out to be a 1/4 inch, and then go ahead and trace on that scribe line. It's going to be easiest to start this one in the middle, work to the right as it fades into nothing, come back to the middle, work to the left as it fades into nothing. Now let's put this hay in the barn. Let me show you how to cut this down to get the perfect fit. Now, because we have up to a 1/4 inch in scribe that we need to get to, you're going to need to remove some of this material before you get to sanding onto that nice pencil line. To do that, there's a number of options. Power planer is going to be a sweet option. It's going to hog out a lot of material quickly. Jigsaw is going to be okay. If this is all you have, by all means. The jigsaw can be a little scuffy and a little chippy, and it's very slow. If you're pretty good with the table saw, freehand rip it's going to be the quickest, most precise way. If you're just starting off with a table saw, you may not want to start freehanding baseboards. All I would say here is if you're going to do it, make sure that you don't get your hands past the blade. For this cut here, I would cut about 2/3 of the way and then flip the board around, always keeping my hands on the safe side. But what I normally use here is the circular saw. It's quick, it's easy, and there's a crafty little trick that you can do to speed up the sanding part. So for this, you're going to need to get your baseboard clamped onto a table, some sawhorses, your miter saw stand, just something so the board is not going to slide around. You want to set your blade depth to just about a 1/4 inch below the baseboard. Any lower than that, and you're going to get more chip out than you want. And then to start the cut, I like to pull the blade guard out of the way. And then the crafty little bit here is just tip the saw a little bit. That's going to put a little bit of a bevel on the bottom of the baseboard, making it easier to sand And the nice thing here is that aluminum base plate is not going to scratch the face of the baseboard to heck. Keep that angle all the way through and then cut out the other side. At this point here, whatever type of power sander you have, get the lowest grit sandpaper you can find. If you just have an orbital sander, get some 40, 50 grit sandpaper, the coarsest stuff you can get. It's gonna work, it's gonna be pretty slow. If you have a belt sander or a disc grinder with some coarse sandpaper, that is going to be a lot faster. This little Ryobi belt sander here is pretty cheap. I will link this in the description. I've used this for a number of years. The thing that I like about it is you can get some really coarse sandpaper and it's super easy to handle compared to some of the bigger, heavier belt sanders out there. So take your sander and then just sand that pencil line until it disappears. Slap that baby into place. You can see that that is an absolutely perfect fit. And hey, if you're doing some other molding work around your home, I've got some extra crafty tips that I want to share with you. You can check them out right over here. I've been saying this geeky, cool carpentry line for about, I don't know, I've probably done it about 40 times. Now let's get to the cool, geeky carpentry stuff. I can't say geeky. Geeky. Geeky is a hard word to say. We're having fun.